And welcome back to the NWR Virtual Investor Conference. I'm Andrew Gagan from Ausbiz. Good to have your company again. Our next company is Uscom, ticker code UCM. It is an innovative medical technology company specializing in development and marketing of premium non-invasive cardiovascular and pulmonary medical devices. It has a mission to demonstrate leadership in science and create non-invasive devices that assist clinicians improve clinical outcomes. Uscom has 3 practice-leading suites of devices in the field of cardiac, vascular, and pulmonary monitoring. The Uscom 1A Advanced Hemodynamic Monitor, Uscom BP Plus Central Blood Pressure Monitor, and the Uscom Spirosonic Digital Ultrasonic Spirometers. Just a reminder, if you would like to ask a question after the presentation, please do so by using the Q&A panel on your screen. Let's now hear from Uscom Chairman and Chief Executive, Dr. Rob Phillips. Rob.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for the invitation to come along and address and update investors. The title of today's presentation is Motivated by Vision and Driven by Fundamentals, which exactly summarises where Uscom is. It's an exciting time. We've achieved strong, sustained growth, and we're closing in on major markets with leading technologies and growing a global organisation of distribution and sales. So it's a very exciting time for the company and for investors. Just got to... So if we look at what Uscom does and what we are, I think it's important to understand that companies are built on culture. We're motivated by vision, driven by fundamentals, and we are an innovative medical science company. And we're founding a company based on leading cardiovascular technologies, pulmonary technologies that save lives. And we're growing into a world-leading medical technology company. I guess we can summarize that by saying it's about science, growth, and profit. From a strategy point of view, how do we execute on that? And this is what FY22 is all about. It's more products, more distribution, more sales, and more revenue. If we just leap straight to the chase and look at what we've done in FY 2021, it was an intermittently profitable year, intermittently cash flow positive. China became or was profitable for its 2nd consecutive year since founding, and Europe was profitable for the first year since it was founded 12 years ago. We've got cash on hand, and we've established a global web of subsidiaries for distribution around the globe. So it's been a year of achievement and investment, if you like. For FY22, it's really about multiple new approvals. In 21, we received a number of approvals, and there are a number of other product approvals which are waiting. So we'll have new products. We're also continuing with new IP. We're a company of ideas and innovation. We've built new distribution, and we are growing further our distribution network. We've expanded our regions of coverage, and we've been buoyed by the post-COVID applications, and that is something I'll cover a little later on. But COVID is something that infectious diseases, Uscom deals with at a very high level. We've also positioned ourselves on the basis of this year being FY22, being a global recovery year. So it is a very exciting time for the company. If we look at it, for those of you who don't know the company, we're ASX listed. As I said, intermittently profitable and cash flow positive, cash in bank, and debt free. We've got high growth and margins. We've got a 9-year total receipts growth of 535%, 25% CAGR. We've got operations in Sydney, Beijing, and Budapest, and we've got offices in Auckland, Singapore, London, and Los Angeles. We've got patented world-leading technology, and we've got something in the order of greater than 150 patent submissions supporting our technologies and a pipeline of products still to come. We've got new products hitting the market now. We had 3 global approvals come through in the last 2 months, and we've got another 2 or 3 towards the end of the year. So those products will be delivered into 4 major jurisdictions over the year ahead. And we're ideally prepared for the future. We've invested over the last 5 years in developing a global company and developing the products that will feed into that. If we look at the Uscom devices, and this is the foundation of the company, we are world leaders in science and technology. We make a difference, and we deal with critical areas of the body. We deal with the heart with the Uscom 1A, so heart failure and hypertension. The blood pressure deals with, the BP Plus deals with blood vessels for hypertension and vascular health. And Spirosonic is the digital ultrasonic technologies which deal with asthma, COPD, occupational lung disease, and COVID. And what's particularly outstanding about the products that we've put together is that we address serious diseases responsible for 75% of global mortality. So the market is massive, and we're in a position where we can service that market and make a difference to outcomes as well as to growing a substantial business. Our results for FY21 have now been released, and we approached profit, was slightly cash flow negative. Sales grew, revenue grew, cash receipts grew. Our first year for cash receipts above $5 million, and our net cash outflow was $0.16 million. And we continue a trend growth, even though it's been a particularly difficult year for all of our jurisdictions around the world. If we look at what's happened over the last 9 years, and I think this tells you the picture that investors are wanting to know, and that is we are building a genuine company with a genuine impact and heading towards a powerful position as a medical device company. As I said, 9-year total cash receipts growth of 24% PA and 535% total increase. And Uscom China was profitable, and Uscom Europe was profitable. So building outposts of regional profitability is the foundation that will form the strength of our company going forward. And this year is that inflection point. And that's we've hit those points of profitability or neutrality, and we've got strategies for profit going forward. Interestingly, we also diversified our product sales. Spirosonic products increased this year. BP Plus products increased. Uscom actually increased as well. It's just that our total sales had increased, so as a percentage it had decreased. Regional sales, China remains by far our strongest outpost and continues to grow strongly. Europe is starting to recover quite quickly, and we're very optimistic about Europe in the next few years. Australia is starting to improve, and the US is also doing quite well. So we are diversifying, if you like. We've sort of spent the last 2 years in China while the rest of the world was in pandemic lockdown, and we're now starting to slipstream with Europe and the US and Australia. Something that's really important is the quality and the integrity of the technologies you deal with, and the Uscom 1A has been the cornerstone product of the company Uscom since it was founded. This year we manufactured our 1500th Uscom 1A, and it's got more than 400 peer-reviewed papers endorsing its capabilities. It's life-saving, it's standard of care, it's in critical care, it works in COVID, sepsis, heart failure, fluid, hypertension and preeclampsia. This is where it makes a difference, and this is a matter of life and death. It's used in neonates, children and adults, and it's installed in many of the major hospitals worldwide. And I think it's probably important to recognise that devices which actually change medical care are very rare. And Uscom is one of those. So we're very proud of the technology that we've created and the results that it brings and the change of life that it impacts patients worldwide. COVID for Uscom was a call to arms, if you like. The Uscom 1A, as you know, COVID is a lung virus which spreads into the cardiovascular system and the organs of the body. But importantly, COVID patients mostly die from cardiovascular failure. And Uscom 1A is a priority technology for rapid assessment of cardiovascular function and guidance of therapy. And so it was approved very quickly early on, perhaps in the first 2 months of the COVID outbreak in China, where we work and we spend a lot of time working. The China National Health and Medical Commission recommended Uscom for severe COVID treatment and has since equipped a number of specific infectious disease hospitals with Uscom 1A devices to manage acute infectious diseases, whether it be COVID or future infectious diseases. So we're very proud not only of the technology, but the impact it has globally. It's also used around the world for exactly the same process. It's not just in China. Interestingly, post-COVID syndrome, we're learning a lot more about that now. And it looks now as if somewhere towards 2 billion people may be or may have ultimately been infected by COVID. What we know now is that there are pulmonary complications with this disease, and it may be ongoing after you're cured from the condition, once you're cured of COVID. And so we need to do a lot of ongoing monitoring. We don't know what happens to the lungs after COVID. And the spirometry market is anticipated to increase by 160% over 6 years, from 2.6 billion to 6.5 billion. And we've just released the most advanced digital ultrasonic spirometry technology. And again, it's a technology that's been 10 years in gestation, and we're incredibly proud of it. And certainly from our point of view, Uscom, whether it's with the Uscom 1A or the Spirosonic Air, is a really important part of the global COVID recovery story worldwide. Interestingly, with COVID, what we've sort of discovered is that the digitally health revolution has suddenly got legs. Suddenly people have discovered it is really important to be able to diagnose remotely, continuously manage seriously ill patients who have contagious diseases. And so we have established a Spirosonic Air cycle which connects doctors through diagnosis and a software application that we've proprietary developed, reports which guide and recommend towards therapy to patients who have their lung function measured by the air and transmit wirelessly through the myAir Spirosonic app, which sends through to the doctor. So for every breath you take, we can measure that and we can remotely transmit it wirelessly and connect and get therapeutic guidance. So it's a very exciting time in the way that these revolutions will start being delivered to patients. Importantly too, of course, it is a monetization system where you can get subscription models or you can have pay per use. So it's changing the way we do medicine, and it's advanced technology that delivers the best quality of healthcare to the hands of the patient, as we say, for every breath you take. The other thing we do is been involved in science, and personally I've been involved in following this very closely. It's been a consequential disease that's changed society, it's changed people, it's changed medicine, and its impact will be felt for many years to come as we follow these folk who've been infected and see how they recover from this disease. And we've been involved in the academic side of this from the very first day. And in fact, we were originally involved with the Sars outbreak, which was a COVID viral pandemic in Hong Kong in 2003, 2004. And it was the very first accelerated approval of a technology to deal with SARS. And since that 2003-2004 period, we've been involved in infectious diseases and their improved management and diagnosis around the world. So we are an important part of COVID and the remnants of COVID. One of the other things, one of the other technologies that we developed has been the Venti test. And what we know is that many patients who had COVID had persistent lung conditions, and what was required was to calibrate their ventilators. And there was a thing called ventilation-induced lung injury. And what it came from was poorly calibrated ventilators. So our very high-level flow monitoring technologies have been adapted to optimize performance of ventilators. So this is also an important spin-off for us that we are developing and starting to work a lot more with now. Again, Uscom products can be coordinated. They're digital products, they're digital outputs, and we've developed a blue sky Uscom eHealth ecosystem where we store all of the information from the heart, vessels and lungs and from monitored patients in a situation, a cloud-based situation where you can analyze the metadata and license the services that perform with that. This is the benefit of having sector-leading digital diagnostic technologies in cardiovascular pulmonary applications. During the year, we've expanded our web of distribution. We originally started in Sydney, and our first market was China, and that's been very successful for us. We've then moved on to Europe, and just as we're moving into LA, the COVID pandemic hit, and we've been delayed both in US and in Europe. China, however, fortunately has managed things very well to date, and our business in China has progressed really well. We've also established a Southeast Asian hub based in Singapore. And what we can do from these regional outposts, these regional webs, is that we cover China, Southeast Asia, Europe, and the US, which is in the order of 3 billion people, 3 to 3.5 billion people, which is nearly half the world's population. And we have established headquarters and distribution networks in those territories. So we are looking forward to utilising those to deliver our newly released products. For our work in China, we've been recognised as a national high technology enterprise and a AAA credit enterprise. So we're building a global business, and we are being recognised for that in a number of different areas. This year particularly was important for us in terms of regulatory. For medical devices, regulatory allows us to trade or to sell into different territories. It's a very slow process, an increasingly complex process. And what you can see this year was we have advanced through China, Southeast Asia, and Europe and the US for Uscom, but BP Plus has only started to begin, and Spirosonic also started to begin. But we have received recently a number of new product approvals, and we expect more approvals in the next 6 months or so, which will increase by 140% our product regions for sale. So this should substantially impact our operations. And if you look at it from a rather simplified point of view, it's 5 regions to 12 regions, product regions. So that's up 140%. And the simple mantra there is more products, more distributors, more sales, and more revenue. And that's exactly the transformational position that we find ourselves now in as we receive these additional approvals. And here's a really simple model that explains the rationale for management's choice about this approach, if you like. It's fundamental, which is exactly the kind of way we like it. More markets, more products, distributors, sales, revenue, and profit. This is the path that we go down. And as you add those additional markets on top, then your results will accelerate. And this is what the years ahead for us are directed at. And if you want to look at regional strategy for FY2, 22, we specifically looking for more, bigger and better distribution in China, preparing for Spirosonics and domestic manufacture. Uscom Europe, growing manufacturing capacity. We will be under demand for our Spirosonic Air. It's an incredibly popular device and people are showing a lot of interest in it at the moment with the post-COVID phenomenon. We are increasing our European distribution for Uscom BP Plus and Spirosonic. Southeast Asia, we've only just begun in, but we already have a beachhead. We've got a centre of operations in Singapore, and we have a number of distribution arms that are already working for us with specific products. We intend to build that out over the next year or so. Uscom US, we activated a new distribution model 2 years ago, and that's been put on hold with the pandemic, but that is now recovering, and we are preparing for Spirosonic and BP Plus approval. And the US is showing really exciting signs of life for us. From an investor point of view, and I don't want to go into this, but clearly Uscom's a premium opportunity. And I saw this CNBC Trading Nation in December, and I thought, gee whiz, they've obviously identified Uscom. Hunt for stock market treasures, outperformance value plays with growth potential. We are at a low valuation. We've got high potential for earnings growth. We perform for the last 9 years. We've performed year on year, quarter on quarter, half on half, and we're in a high value sector. So we're motivated by vision, driven by fundamentals. Again, to summarize, we believe a company, particularly if you're going to build a globally influential company, should have depth. We've got culture, motivated by vision, we're driven by fundamentals. We believe in what we do, and we do what we do well, and we do it cost effectively. Our mission is improve global health with improved medical science, and we deliver that in a cost-effective way. So it's science, growth, and profit. It's bringing together science and investors. Our strategy, how are we going to deliver our mission? It's more products, more distribution, more sales, and more revenue. It's a very fundamental approach to business. So thank you very much for this opportunity to update you, and thank you very much for your time. Andrew.
Rob, thank you so much. Well, let's get to some questions. And Rob, you were speaking there of the post-COVID syndrome. Perhaps you can expand on that, the question being, do you see other COVID-related opportunities that you think still have an opportunity to tap into?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. However we view COVID, we may live with endemically for the next 1 to 10 years, who knows? But there will be other infectious disease that comes along that we have to live with. And a critical part of that is understanding the cardiovascular system and the pulmonary system. And we have sector-leading technologies in both of those areas. And we are delivering those and being recognised for their role in those. So COVID is important, infectious diseases are important, and the US and Europe now are starting to follow the lead of China, and they are building a specialised network of infectious disease service centres, and we expect to be in a part of those. The post-COVID recovery stuff is going to be with us too. There will be somewhere between 2 billion people who have had COVID and who may have lingering or evolving symptoms that will limit their quality of life. And understanding how that natural history progresses and how we treat it is going to be absolutely critical. And first of all, you have to measure how the lungs work, how the heart works, and how the vessels work. And this is exactly our business.
Rob, you mentioned there that the China business has developed well for you. A question in relation to that, of what percentage of the business now is through Chinese sales?
At the moment, it's about 70 odd percent. Having said that, the US and Europe has been basically sidelined. basically they've been in lockdown for a year and a half, whereas China's been quite busy and relatively undisturbed to date. So it's a little misleading. Having said that, I always get the question about, are you uncomfortable about the weighting that we have into the China market? I look at it quite the opposite way, and that is, without the China market, we would have been in a terrible position. The US was basically inactive for 12 to 18 months. Europe was partially active and probably inactive for 12 months. China was barely influenced by the pandemic. So I like to see that transition and diversification and risk mitigation, if you like, from a geopolitical, currency, operations point of view. We now have Southeast Asia hub. We've now got Beijing hub. We've got Budapest hub in Europe, and we're developing out the US. Having diversified global operations is a very powerful thing, mid-term and long-term. And when we get threats and challenges that are as unpredictable as COVID has been, then I think you see and appreciate the value of a diversified global entity.
Okay, and just a question in relation to your workforce, essentially. What do you think it would be possible to grow your sales more aggressively with a larger investment in people?
Look, you know, I've seen an awful lot of crazy stuff go on in the bio sector in the last 12 and 18 months, and I'm yet to see the results of those. I think you've got to be, that's like I say, you've got to be motivated by fundamentals, motivated by vision, driven by fundamentals, and you've got to build a company that pays its own way. At the end of the day, it's interesting how long it takes when you see how long CSL, Cochlear, ResMed, all of the big companies, it does not happen overnight. And just throwing money at it, there are a lot of more experienced investors than me that have seen an awful lot of money go on investments in biotechnology that haven't gone very far. And I wouldn't say conservative, because we've sort of grown quite quickly and we've got good footholds world over. But fundamentals do count. At some point, they do count. And I think at the moment, we don't need cash. We may need cash as we grow, because capital growth is a requirement. We've got to build a lot of products over the next year or two, and we can see that coming. But again, it will be driven on demand, not by speculation.
Rob, thanks very much for the presentation, and thanks for joining us from Uscom.
My pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.